Good afternoon everyone, and welcome to my Tips and Tricks Thursday. My name is Lucia Visentin and I am an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator in Melbourne, Australia. Thank you so much for joining me today. As you hop on, do say hi. Would love to know who's around. If you have any questions, please ask, as I will be just showing you, like I said, a few tips and tricks. So what I did want to do today is actually show you, just try and improve your stamping, basically. So I'm just going to give you a few little tips that I have for that. Here we go. I just didn't have comments there for a minute. So yes, so like I said, really back to basics, looking at the ink pads as well, because a lot of you will probably be purchasing some new ink pads as the new ink colours are coming through, which isn't very far off now. So it's the 6th of May, so we're only looking at a couple of weeks away. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of a heads up so that you'll know exactly what to do with them. So let us turn around and we can get started and I can show you a few things. Okay, I will stay sort of fairly close. We might go might even just raise it a little bit instead of fiddling with the screen, because sometimes it doesn't play nicely with me. Good afternoon, Fiona. Hope you're well. So here are my new ink colours. So Secret Sea, Daffodil Delight. That's not a new one. Where have I got my Darling Duck? It's here. Here we go. Darling Duck, Timid Tiger and Strawberry Slush. So there's a few of the new ones here. The only one that's not here is Cloud Cover, which they're having a little bit of a problem with at the moment. Hopefully we will hear something soon about what is happening with that as well. So I might have some news shortly about that. So for stamping, what we are going to need is our ink, stamps and paper. Okay, so that is the basics of what you will need. So what I have here is some paper, which is our basic white paper. Now the basic white paper is fantastic. It's a little bit finer than our regular cardstock, but it has got a beautiful finish on it. So it's actually quite lovely and smooth. So it is very conducive to stamping on. I have stamped on some cheaper papers, and with some of them it does bleed a little bit. With this one here I find that it doesn't at all. Hello Glenda, how are you? So it is worth buying the Stampin' Up white for that reason, because it does stamp really nicely. Oh yes, definitely recommend it. So if you've not used it before as well, I am quite happy to send you a little sample of it as well, so that you can see how good it is to use. Definitely don't mind doing that for you. So then our next thing are our inks. So the reason why I did want to talk about our inks is because when you first receive them, and if you haven't used them yet, they can be quite juicy. So when they're stored, Stampin' Up have got a great little technique with their ink pads, as in the lids flip open. So what happens is when you're stamping directly onto it, but when you close it, your ink pad is actually sitting upside down. So it's always recommended with things like your Versamark and your Memento. Mine are always stored upside down, and that keeps the ink down at the top of the ink pad. Whereas with our Stampin' Up ones, we don't have to store them upside down because the ink pad is already upside down. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So I always store them with their writing side up. So mine just go into the shelf as they are here. Now, like I was saying, when you first receive them, sometimes, oh, hello, Anita, how are you? Sometimes when you receive them, they can be quite juicy. So let me show you Secret C, my new favourite colour, I must admit. Is actually quite nice. Now, I'm going to just hop over to something else as well. When we are stamping as well, it is always best with your stamp to choose a stamp that is as close to the size of your block as possible. So try not to choose one that's too large. And the stamp set I am using at the moment is Impressions of Bloom. Try and choose one that's not too large, because if it's too large, you will end up rocking and rolling it. And I will show you what happens when you do that as well. So with this one here, our ink pads are foam. So because they're foam, you don't want to squelch into it too much. So when we do ink up our stamp, we do just want to lightly tap and make sure that you've got a really good coverage on your stamp. Okay, so looking at that, there's a nice coverage. This is a photopolymer stamp. I am using a foam mat, which is our piercing mat, just to give me a nicer image. The reason why I go the foam is because when you're looking at our cling stamps, they already have that nice spongy foam under them, whereas our cling don't. So it's always good to have, like I said, they've got the foam there. Well, we're replicating that with what's under us. So that one, I've pressed a little hard, but that one actually stamps quite nicely, okay? Whereas, I will just give that a quick clean. And I will use my Stampin' Scrub so that I can dry off my stamp, is what I'm trying to say. So that one stamps okay, but I did notice when I went to my strawberry slush, it is quite juicy. And the way you can tell it's really juicy, can you see all those bubbles that form on that when I take away my stamp? And even on my stamp, you can actually see that there's lots of bubbles. I hope that's showing up a little bit. It is just a little bit, but it does get quite bubbly. So if I stamp that, oh, you can see once it's on the white, look how bubbly that is. We get that kind of thing. And that's not a good thing. Like, look at that stamp, was just, like I said, you can see the bubbles on the stamp. So we stamp that, and we do get quite bubbly. So to eliminate that, there are a few things you can do. One of them, which I will tell you, a lot of people will go, because you are actually getting rid of a layer of ink. But this one is super, super juicy. So what I sometimes do is I get a tissue and fold it in quarters, pop it on, and I know it is a waste of ink. I can hear you, but I'm just going to take that top layer off, okay? So that's one way of doing it, where you will get a better image. Now I can still feel that that's quite juicy, and you can still see the little dots. Okay, so you're still getting those little dots on there. So the next thing I would do, and I'll only do a little bit so you can see the comparison between the half and half. I'm going to use a plastic spoon, and I'm just scooching the ink to one side. Okay, so the ink's still there. I'm not getting rid of any of that ink. And like I said, I'll go half and half so you can see the bubbly side and the better side. So can you see one side's better than the other side? So if I now scooch that over a little bit more, Do be careful because you have got a foam pad there, so you don't want to be too rough on it. Yeah, see, that's still, like I said, you can feel under the stamp if it is too juicy. I'll just give that a quick clean. And come back. It's a little bit lighter, but I have got rid of all of those bubble effects. So let's go again. So I do want to get a little bit more ink on there because I have scooched a lot of that over. And still just on the edges, but the side we better. So you've just got to, don't work it too much either. So that's probably the other thing that I'm doing wrong, because I'm going up and down in the one place lots. So we'll go in, give it a couple of goes, and that one's better. So, and it does dry better as well, is the other thing too. So the other thing with these stamps have already been used. When you are using your stamps, I always cure them beforehand as well. So curing, all that means is, sorry, I'm just going to clean my spoon before it also gets everywhere. Curing your stamps does help as well. So once you've inked it up like this, curing is just a matter of getting here, stamping with it, cleaning it, give it a nice firm clean, and then drying it off. And then you've actually cured the stamp, so you're actually taking all the finishing off the stamp. So I have seen some people do it like that. I have also seen people just with a rubber. So with a rubber, they've just gone over the edge, the top, the face of the stamp, and just rubbed over it as well, and then give it a clean. Hello Sharon, how are you? Thank you for joining us. So that's another way of doing it also. So curing stamps, always a really good thing. Now whether they're cling or whether they're photopolymer, always cure them. So like I said, the other thing is using the correct size block for your stamps. So with this one here, it probably doesn't matter so much with this one because you don't have as much around the edges, whereas when you've got your cling stamps, you've got this little outside edge bit. So if we take that off that really nice fit and say we've only got this size block, so we're going to use it. So we're going to pop our stamp on there. We will use, let's go Timid Tiger just for something a little bit different. So if we go Timid Tiger, now because you've got such a big block, it is really hard sometimes just to pop it down on your ink pad. Because you've got all that area, it's really easy to rock it. See, when you rock it, you end up with ink everywhere. So then sometimes you can go to stamp it again. It's a big area, so it's really easy when you're pressing on it for things to wobble. When things wobble, we end up with this halo, and you also end up with ink absolutely everywhere on your stamp too. Hello Patty, really basic today Patty. We are just going through some little tips for improving your stamping, which I think you've probably got down completely pat by now. But I did just want to show you the difference now. Give this a clean. So now if I pop this onto the correct size, see, and even that's a little bit big, so let's go this one. See, and that's going to fit it beautifully. Okay, let's give this another little bit of paper. So with this one now, I can just tap it nice and lightly on my ink pad. Because you haven't got all that excess, it's not as likely to roll around on your ink pad anymore. So I'm just tapping up and down. Then when you go onto your paper, it's easy. Down and then up. And see how we've got no shadow, no anything around that. So it just makes it easier. But remember, because they're foam, really gently down. Just a little, like you've just got to tap it. Like you don't have to smush it right into that. And then we just go again, when we're stamping, we go down. I just leave it there for a couple of seconds just so that the paper absorbs the ink, and then we go back up. So if we're not putting too much pressure on it, things like these fine lines, you're not going to get all filled up. So let me just put a bit more pressure on that. See how much ink I can get on that. And if I smoosh that down really hard, again, we've got that shadow, but can you see how here it's not quite as fine down here anymore? Whereas if I flip that over, we've got that nice fine. So sometimes it's just a matter of being gentle and not quite so heavy-handed to get that nice light look instead of this kind of thing happening here. Now, if you're cutting that out, that's fine. You would be cutting that off anyway if you've got a die. And the other thing, you could put a sentiment or something over it. So if it does happen, there are things you can do to cover it up. We're all very good at embellishing with things like that, I must admit, as well. So, so like I was saying, foam mat for photopolymer. Don't have to worry about the mat with the cling stamps because they already have their foam built into them. And just being gentle, so you're just going straight down and straight up when you're actually stamping. So they're probably the more important parts of stamping. And I might just show you as well, this one here is a two-step stamp. Let me see if I've got something a little bit darker. So, and this is a stamp set that will be out on the 6th. So I've just got Berry Burst here. Now I know I've had my Berry Burst for a while, so that is going to stamp quite nicely. I'm not getting any bubbles on my ink pad there. And I'm just going to stamp this straight down onto, now I'm probably not going to be able to line it up very well because I've got my camera in the way, although not too bad. And so that's what you get once you've stamped the other over it. So again, with this one, probably if it's not 100% perfect, doesn't really matter, but they're the ways that you can do to get it better. And once you've got that two-step over the top, the second step, that actually looks quite pretty, I think, too. So that's my little refresher for today. So if there's anything else that you would like to know stamp-wise, do let me know. Now this one, that's interesting. I still haven't put my side bit. I always, on my ink pads, obviously not always, try and put one of my spare stickers on the side. So they come with stickers at the back. So all I'm going to do is take one of those plain ones off and just pop that down the side. Just so that when they're open, because if I had that open and I had this other pink open side by side, oh, they're probably a little bit, you can tell a bit of the difference, but sometimes they can look very, very similar and you can't tell them apart when they're all open in front of you. So it does help just to have that colour on there as well. Do always make sure that your ink pads are actually, they do clip closed, so you'll hear a little snap and that's closed. If you leave them so that they're a little bit ajar, like you can see this one is a bit ajar now, they will dry out. So be sure that you do close that properly as well. So that is kind of it for my little tips and tricks today. Just wanting to let you know that catalogues have gone out. Anyone who had asked for one from me, they should be on their way to you. With Easter and then Anzac Day, it could be hopefully not too long, but they might be a little while. The other thing is we do have free shipping. So we've got free shipping for 3 days. It did start yesterday, so you've still got today and tomorrow of free shipping as well. So if you do have anything on your wish list, I'd hit it up now, because if you're not paying shipping, that's always a good thing. And I do have some spaces left for my class. I haven't started cutting. I'll do the kits this weekend, so I'll be cutting out the kits this weekend. So if anyone wants to join us for our May class, which is on May the 9th, do let me know and I can include you in that and cut a kit for you. So thank you very much for joining me today. I hope a little bit of that might have helped you in some way, and I will see you on Monday. Have a lovely long weekend, and we'll catch up with you Monday. Thanks a lot. Bye.